Man City keep on rolling. Everton win against Liverpool for the first time in a very long time. Inter Milan destroy AC Milan 3-0. We have She Believes Cup recaps. We have PSG losing. We have La Liga as well. Heath Pierce joins us today. Que Golazo weekend recap begins right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Que Golazo, our weekend recap. Jimmy Conrad not here. We're going to miss him. But we have, of course, Heath Pierce to run the show with me. HP, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful Sunday. So, and I'm excited to talk. There's been wild games, leagues that we thought were running away are now getting closer. So I'm excited about this. How are you doing?
I'm good. And to your point, a lot of action as always, and we're going to get straight into it, baby. Let's begin in the Premier League, and we'll begin from the top of the table, going all the way down. Maybe not all the way, but definitely from the top. Man City continues their victory run. They keep on rolling, looking good, and they win 1-0 against Arsenal, though, Heath Pierce. It wasn't necessarily one of these monumental 4-1, 3-1. I actually thought they were going to get away with it even more. But Arsenal and Mikel Arteta really showed a lot of resiliency. I mean, it was an early goal they gave away, and you thought, oh, my God, this was just going to get bad and bad. Raheem Sterling gets a header. Rob Holding, 6'3", 6'4", whatever he is, couldn't get it. Raheem Sterling gets it, and it's 1-0 to Man City. It stays like that. Plenty of opportunities in the second half. But again, as I reiterate, Arsenal did enough to make it interesting, but couldn't get a point, and Man City win and remain top of the table.
Yeah, and I think this is an indicator of their form, right? Their depth. You take out Rodri, you put in Fernandinho. You've got Noah Aguero. You have Kevin De Bruyne come back. You've got this diamond that has you have the ability to rotate so many players. You don't play with a striker, but you get your one goal. And again, Man City of the past was 2, 3, 4 goals, but the Man City now is willing to take. And again, I think they'd be happy to win by multiple goals, but the fact that they are getting out of these games with clean sheets is absolutely ridiculous. I think Arsenal came to life after a while, and they settled in, and that's one of those early goals that's really hard to overcome, especially against the City where you can go long spells without possession. But that's the most impressive for me is just, Riyad Mahrez, Gundogan, like these are two guys that have been squad players. And then when one form dips of a player or you rotate the squad in a year like this, these players are the ones stepping up. And if you look across the Premier League, there's an exact reason why they're on top. It's because each one of these guys has pulled their weight, and that's really hard to do, right? It's really hard to motivate guys who are in and out of lineups. It's hard to motivate a deep squad of players who all think they're the best. And so a lot of that credit has to go to Pep Guardiola. Obviously still a long ways to go with their primary competition in the Champions League, but just an impressive ability against an Arsenal who aren't easy to get all 3 points.
Yep, absolutely right. And also, by the way, Kevin De Bruyne returned, and, he went back to his old self of being super creative. And by the way, the chances were not completely overwhelming for Man City. I mean, when you look at the stats over here, you have like 15 shots, 3 on target only for Man City to Arsenal, 7 shots, I believe, 1 on target. The possession was sort of, 55-45, not insanely overwhelming for Pep Guardiola's side. But I think the key here was just what they do in the final third. And also something I've been very impressed with, Heath Pierce, is how Man City defends. I mean, it's been a theme here now where we know they're going to score goals. It doesn't matter who's in there. You had Kevin De Bruyne out there with Riyad Mahrez. You mentioned, of course, Bernardo Silva. So they don't need a natural number 9. They're always going to get creativity from someone. It's more about what they do at the back. I think somebody like Zinchenko, hugely underrated player in the Premier League, I think. Cancelo looks good. Obviously, we've talked about their center back situation, but defensively, and it goes back to that cliche, Heath Pierce, defense wins you championships, and that's really what's happening right here with Man City.
Yeah, not only that, you have that back six, but what I was impressed about in this game, and again, this is all about defensive. City actually didn't have a lot of chances outside of the first couple of minutes of the game, or at least clear chances. But what I really liked is if you look, they made it really hard for an Arsenal who want to play out of everything. They made it hard to play when you have a front five where you have a Sterling who's got the energy and willingness to press, when you have a Gundogan, when you have these guys who are willing to keep the game in front of them and press up, the game gets really predictable. And then you know where you need to win the ball in order to attack, right? And again, this I guess that's the point I was trying to make before in terms of motivating these players. When you have this much squad rotation, Riyad Mahrez doesn't want to press. He doesn't want to play defense. But in this system and the form that they have, the game gets really predictable. You know, you see the front five and they're all pressing. There's all a commitment. They're all committing to being part of this defensive shifting and again, making it predictable for that back 4 or 5 to know when to step, when we can win the ball, where we're going to win it, what we're going to do next. It's just so well oiled that there's no players that are taking plays off. And if you take them out and you put Aguero in, Aguero knows how to start the first line of the press. And that's a really hard thing to do with some of the best players in the world, right? They want to be able to rest. You have your defending your blocks, but you have a couple players sort of making their transition back into defense and things like that. So, it's obviously the perfect time to be having a team that's buying into this moment, but they all see that it's working. And not only in getting 3 points, but also in their goals against record, they are defending as a unit in a way that they are at least committed, right? And making the game predictable, which, you've played, I've played. When the game is predictable, it's so much easier for your back six to know, oh, we can step, the back line can move their line so much more confidently than saying, do we step, do we drop? And you start to see everybody on separate pages, which is, what Arsenal looked like in the first few minutes, right? Center back stepping, fullback dropping, and just looked all out of place, whereas City just looks so clean in the way that they're moving right now.
Yeah, and just that one final point, Heath, Man City has conceded so far 15 goals in the Premier League. That's nothing. The closest one after that, I think, is Chelsea with 25. So, defensively, they're just out of their minds. And they're 59 points, top of the table, 10 above Manchester United, who won 3-1 against Newcastle. A very good win. It was a little iffy in the first half, but then they got going in the second. I believe Rashford got one, Bruno Fernandes as well, Daniel James, a good win. They remain second. I guess this is more, they won 2-1. I'm sorry. No, was it 3-1? Let me just go.
3, yeah.
No, absolutely.
Bruno Fernandes scored the third.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when I don't have enough coffee. 3-1, absolutely. Bruno Fernandes gets that penalty. But I think the bigger conversation here, Heath Pearce, is Newcastle. Because, now they're 3 points above the relegation zone. Fulham, who got a good win this weekend, they have a worse goal differential than Fulham. So, another bad result, and Fulham gets a win, and they're in the bottom 3. And this is something I predicted at the very beginning of the season. I don't want Newcastle to go down, by the way, everybody. Okay, soft spot for Norberto Solano, but Steve Bruce is just going to Steve Bruce, and I feel that they've had some good wins. I mean, they beat Everton, they beat Southampton, but it might just not be enough. I just don't know. It doesn't look good for them as Man United beat Newcastle. Any thoughts on that, Heath Pearce, especially since our Newcastle supporter Jimmy Conrad isn't here, so we can talk freely about the Magpies.
Yeah, now that this is a safe space, actually, he's usually one to create the safe space around Newcastle, and is happy to avoid the conversation, especially in a year like this. But yeah, I think they're in trouble, right? It's a form thing, and while I do think Fulham are the more likely to go down at this point, they do have 2 wins in their last 4, and I think they're unbeaten in their 4 of their last 5, and that's an indicator that they feel a little bit of hope. And when you see somebody above you continuing to slide a little bit, you can taste blood, and I think that puts the form into Fulham's hands and less so into Newcastle's hands. Yeah, they've had a couple good results this year, but that means nothing if you can't put together a good string of results. So today's the kind of day that I would love to get Jimmy's take on that. Somebody who's been on the inside watching them closely all year long on what he thinks is the issue. But a big win for Fulham and a tough loss, right? And not a tough loss because Man United are Man United. And I know we give United a hard time, but they're fighting for second place in theory with Leicester City at this point, and are a very good team. And it's just kind of like insult to injury when you have a tough run of form like Newcastle has, and then you have to face a Manchester United. It just makes you realize every game from here on out is going to be a scrap for a point or 3 points, whether it's home or away.
You're staying with Fulham, though, going down.
It's I I I mean, it's probably a little bit biased just because you look at Fulham and Newcastle as clubs, and I just naturally lean towards that. And there's probably not a lot of insights or expertise behind that. Obviously, if you look at the form right now, I'm liking Fulham to keep going. But when you look at the squad quality, when you look at the depth of the squads, I still like Newcastle. They're just in a poor run, and also you just don't think about Newcastle going down, right? You don't think it's not. You just go, oh, they'll figure it out by the end. It's just a really bad year.
Yeah, but it's happened before, right? So,
yeah.
we never, it's just like Villa. We didn't think Villa would go down, and look what happened. And the other thing I feel here, Heath, is that this is about squad depth, which is a very good point you make, against strategy. And I feel that Scott Parker has a better foundation right now. And Steve Bruce is just relying on pure talent. And sometimes when that isn't enough, and of course, Callum Wilson's absence is a major thing, it's going to be a problem. By the way, last game of the season for them, Fulham.
Oh, wow. That would be nice. The sad part is that it's usually decided by that point. But if there is points on the line for that would be fantastic. But at a certain point, right? And you made a great point. Newcastle has to realize they are not Newcastle anymore. And they have to take what they have. Like, it becomes, like you said, a tactical thing. I remember looking at when I played in the Bundesliga, I remember we put up on a board, right, how many games we have left in the season and how many points we need to take out of each month, right? And I did this also in Major League Soccer because it's about making the playoffs. You need to pull out X amount of points per month against these opponents. You look at the strength of the squads, who you're playing against. You know you're going to have a few washes. Instead of it being Newcastle's just going to finally find their form again, instead say, all right, we need to take 6 points this month. We need to take 9 points the next month against these teams, and that will save our season, as opposed to, like you said, having a little bit more of that Leeds type of mentality of like, we have enough talent, we should win these games. We're just in a slump, because that slump, when that hits the locker room and it poisons the well a little bit, it's really, really hard to come out of, because, again, one or two of these things are unlucky, and then you just go, well, this is it's a cursed season. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah. No, absolutely right. All right, let's keep going down this table. Leicester City beat my Aston Villa 2-1. Harvey Barnes was amazing. Leicester City is a great team. Albeit this is Aston Villa that played without Jack Grealish, who suffered an injury on Friday. So really, it's a day-to-day situation. Dean Smith,
something game streak, by the way.
Yeah,
of matches played.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you know that it was coming, just, the amount that takes for just not him, but all these players. But apparently Leeds which is the next game next weekend. It might be too close, but after that it should be fine. But Matty Cash was a major absence here for the Aston Villa right back. But anyway, Leicester City deserved that win 2-0, meaning that, of course, they're third. West Ham beating Tottenham 2-1. They're in a Champions League spot still, 2-0, and then Spurs got one back, so made it 2-1 at the end. So your top four is kind of amazing. Man City, Manchester United, Leicester City, and West Ham United. What do you think of that, Heath Pearce?
It's pretty incredible. It's sad to see what's happened to the run of form of Spurs, right? Lost 4 of their last 5. Pretty disappointing when you think about a game like this, right? They had this was a weird one, by the way. They gave up, they had all possession. They had 70% possession or something like that, but David Moyes was like, no problem, you guys have it, we'll just do what you do to you, and we'll just sit back and wait, and we'll be disciplined, and it ended up working out. But there was, I will say, the only thing I'll say about the Spurs game is that there was flashes of Gareth Bale when he came on. There was the first time that I've seen flashes of old Gareth Bale,
which we saw in Europa League as well on Thursday.
That is true. So there's something in it that you can see he's starting to find that love or passion or form or whatever it is that's been. Oh, I'm getting that leg cramp right now. It happened again. Sorry.
I'm going to keep this.
If anybody's watching this on video, you'd see what just happened to my leg. Oh, that is terrible, man. I cannot sit in chairs anymore with my feet under like you do in a school classroom because my whole hamstring just shuts down on me. Sorry. Anyways, the point I was making is that Antonio was back, obviously, for West Ham, which I think is a huge importance. But, West Ham, that maturity of willingness to change formations, going from a 3-line to a 4-back line, things like that. shows a maturity in how you manage a season, right? That there is a certain level of arrogance you get from some managers. And this is not about Mourinho or anybody specifically, that they think we go out and we implement our attack on everyone, right? They make them make adjustments. And I agree with that to some extent. But there also needs to be a little bit of humility of like, who are we playing the next week? What's the form of our team? How can we tinker the right way? We're seeing, obviously, Thomas Tuchel tinkering a lot. We saw Frank Lampard tinkering a lot. And that's not always a good thing either. But that fine balance is what makes great managers great. And they deployed that well against Spurs. And now Spurs are really in tough shape right now. 36 points, it looks like.
Yeah, and Tottenham are not looking good at all. And this has been an issue for a while now. And, this has really just been the theme of this season, Heath, where, the top four look interesting right now, Europa League spots in the top half of the table. And the name of the game right now is, to be honest with you, it's not even about talent. It's once again the question, is Jose Mourinho adapting enough to what the modern game needs? And I'm not calling him has been, but I believe that when you look at Tottenham every now and again, they just have a plan A, and that's it. There's no other plan. And that's a problem. It's a problem for Tottenham, and it's a problem for Jose Mourinho.
I agree. And I think the hardest part with that is, again, we've talked about it a lot of times, is when you come in, you have to get buy-in from your players, right? You have to get buy-in that this system's going to work. And when it works, you continue to buy in. You win because of the coach or despite the coach or whatever, that you get that group together somehow and it works. And then when it doesn't, it's really hard to get people to keep buying in because it's a very ugly style of play. Like, I say ugly in the sense that, like, it is a very tactical style of play. There is a system in place that sacrifices some of the magic or some of the quality that some of these players that Spurs bring to the table. And it was working early in the season, right? Counterattack ball, these guys attack with pace, with Son, with Kane, just go, go, go. And then when it starts to dry up, the players start to question it. So I think, I don't know. And this has always been the question for people, right? Is a Mourinho, can he do it without a blank check? And can he do it not at a great team, right? And they are a good team. They are a great attacking team, but those two things don't necessarily fit his system, right? Like, I think if he could, he'd clean house with the back six and then rebuild that whole back six to say, oh no, let's do what City does and let's just win 1-0, even though City is on the possession side, but let's just get clean sheets and then we'll figure out the rest, And right now it's hard to imagine. I don't know, just it looks a little dysfunctional. And when that wheel starts to turn long enough, you start to wonder, like you said, is he adapting to the modern game? Because I do think that still, it is a breath of fresh air, what he was bringing earlier on in the year, but it's clearly not working either against the quality of the opponent or it's not working against the commitment from the players that he currently has.
Yep. And the fact remains they are 9th, 36 points. And, in terms of getting anything, whether it's Europa, definitely not Champions League, is something that probably won't happen by the end of the season. So food for thought. All right, the final thing that we're just talking about, the Premier League, of course, on Saturday's game, Liverpool. Oh, man, you got to feel for Liverpool, Heath Pierce. Jordan Henderson comes out, not before, of course, Everton had the lead already, but then there was that penalty that, it's tough, but then the rules, I think, regardless of what happened, Trent Alexander-Arnold, as he fell, obviously, obstructed the run, impeding the play from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, meaning that it was a penalty. You can't, it's tough, but it's a goal. But regardless of that, Everton win 2-0. James with a great assist for Richarlison, and Everton for the first time since 2010 beat Liverpool. And it's a great win for Everton, back on track for them. But you just have to feel for Liverpool, to be honest. Obviously they're having a tough season. They're not doing what but when you lose Virgil van Dijk, Joel Matip, Joe Gomez, Jordan Henderson goes down. You had Thiago Alcantara, who wasn't available for a while. Fabinho wasn't available to play. It's just a lot. It's too much. It's too much for anybody. And then when you combine that with individual mistakes, especially how Alisson made that mistake in the previous game, and now here with, We mentioned Jordan Henderson going down. It's just a lot. It's obstacle after obstacle, and you gotta feel, it's weird, but you gotta feel sorry for them a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and then when you look at bringing in what's his name, Kabak or
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Quebec. That's right. Ozil Quebec.
Who hasn't settled in well, right? Has come at the worst time imaginable.
And you can't blame him. He's not ready. Like, he's not ready. And he's being thrown in the lines then. He's just being thrown in the lines then. He's a good defender. He's a good center back. But even a world-class defender, you're asking a lot. When you're asking this of a 20-year-old who just comes from the Bundesliga, a team, by the way, that's struggling anyway in Schalke, it's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's a lot of pressure to put on him. It is one of those seasons, I'd say the only plus is that they are, I made the example before about when a team feels like, oh, the whole, like, this is a cursed season, we need to get out the voodoo doll and kind of, write this one off and move on to the next year. They are able to look at it this way, because they were overperforming for the players that they had for a long time, right? They were finding a way. There was like a vibe to them. And then eventually that luck or that, momentum ran out because they just don't have the depth. They don't have. And then again, you add that to probably the most unlucky team in a lot of ways this year too. It's just one of those things where you go, man, I think it's going to be very hard for them to finish in a Champions League spot or in a European spot this year, within the context of where they finish in the league. They're obviously cruising in Champions League, and I do think that's probably their best shot. I'm not sure what other competitions they're still in, but in terms of getting into Champions League, they've got to go for a Champions League trophy. Which again, you look at them and you look at what's happened, and you're like, odds are really low with the current squad that they have.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And we've said it already for a few weeks. Liverpool in 6th place right now. The Champions League is not a done deal here, a Champions League spot. So you would say that their only saving grace right now would be to win it in order to see what happens. But it's not going to, I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but it's very difficult. It's not a given here. And you can't help but think that a lot of it has to do, obviously, with the injuries and absentees. All right, we're going to come back. Quick break. When we come back, we'll talk the rest of Europe, including a ridiculous win for Inter Milan. Stay right here. Welcome back, everybody. Que Golazo Weekend Recap with my man Heath Pearce. Heath, let's talk the rest of Europe. By the way, Serie A is ridiculously fun. Inter Milan was leading, AC Milan second. Milan derby on Sunday morning, Eastern time, really early, Pacific, but this was a key matchup, and Inter take it 3-0. I saw this game. Inter were just up for it in every single way. AC Milan was not up for it, or at the very least, they just didn't have a response to the aggressive Conte style. This was, if you wanted an Antonio Conte style of win, this was it. Lautaro Martinez was fantastic, but Romelu Lukaku was everywhere. He was everywhere. Great assist for the first goal for Lautaro Martinez, and then his goal was fantastic. And at this point, I said whoever wins this wins Serie A, and I think that I'm going to stick with that. Inter Milan just looks so good. They have nothing else to worry about, Heath Pearce. There's no Champions League. There's no Europa. This is it. This is all they have to take care of. Christian Eriksen played well. Look what he's done. A 180 starting for them, playing well. I feel that this is Inter's league to now lose, and they look good. 3-0 against AC Milan. Great win.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was from the very beginning. I say the very beginning because I started watching it in the 15th minute, and because it was early on this side, and I actually meant to get up for it, but missed it, and then went into a panic. And I was like, "How could I miss this? This is the biggest game of the year in Serie A." But I was able to get there around 15th, 16th minute, and it just looked like two different teams, right? AC Milan were spread out all over the place, and that played right into Lautaro Martinez, Lukaku, who was coming in from the right side, driving in constantly, kind of floating around. There was just an energy to them, and it just felt like a momentum, whereas AC Milan, I think, struggled in the back. I think they had an inability. Like, if you watched when Milan lost the ball, they were spread out, and Inter Milan AC Milan lost the ball, Inter would just attack them wide open, right? 3-on-3, 4-on-4, go. When Inter lost the ball, they would literally get everyone behind it as quick as possible and kill any opportunity for AC Milan to do it. And then AC Milan didn't have any of their players that could stretch anyone, right? They had Zlatan up top. They had Calhanoglu. They had Salamakers. They didn't have anybody who was going to get in behind. No Rafa Leao, who was on the bench. They didn't have anybody that could pull them back and in transition, like quickly explode and get out. And that's the risk that they ran, is that Inter Milan tactically just outplayed them in the way of knowing, like, keep them in front of us. They're not going to have enough ideas to be able to break us down. And they did have some half chances along the way, but Inter so quick in transitions, just when that team was an organized 1, 2, 3 passes goal. And it did not look like the Milan that we had seen earlier in the year. It looked like the Inter Milan that is in peak form. They've been the same, like more entertaining to watch, and made AC Milan look like a team of years past from start to finish in this game. It wasn't even close in terms of just the energy, the momentum, the quality that you saw, the ability to solve problems in real time. It was just all Inter Milan start to finish. I'm with you, man. I'm going with it. I'm going with Inter to win this one. I know it's easy. It's a low hanging fruit at this point, and makes me a little bit of a coward to wait this long, but I'll take it.
No, it is, but sometimes the answer is right there in front of you, and I just think it goes back to this, which is what we've all been saying. Jimmy Conrad too, like, you don't have anything else to worry about. There is no other headache. There is no major game outside of Italy that you have to worry about. It's just this. Scudetto is all you have to worry about. So, the focus, the strategy, the plan, the platform to try and get that Scudetto, that's it. That's all you have to do. And when everybody just has that objective, that target, it's going to be that much easier. And it's a big one. Juventus don't play until Monday, but Inter Milan here with 53 points, top of the table. Milan's still with a shout. It's only 4 points away. It's not that this is done and dusted. It's just that I feel that with the Europa League coming back and, just the fact that they have other things to worry about is a major problem. And it's not for Inter Milan. And I just see this a Scudetto for them, which would be amazing because, Juventus has been winning this for, the biggest part of the decade.
Yeah, and look, AC Milan were, I think, one of the last unbeaten teams in Europe, right? And they had this incredible run of form and hadn't really, I'm sure they faced adversity along the way, but now they've lost 3 in their last 5. I think, 3 of their 4 losses have come in the last 5 games of the season. That's not a great sign of where they're at, right? And when you think about the fact that, I do think Inter have the ability, even though they've only lost twice, to draw games and give up points between here and the rest of the year. It's kind of the conversation we've been having, which is like, if they skip a step, is AC Milan really good enough to cover that gap? Is Juventus good enough to cover that gap? Like, are they willing to win out for the rest of the year in the way that City has, or I don't think so. When you look at today, you're like, man, they are vulnerable. And I just don't know even if Inter Milan slip up, if AC Milan will be good enough, consistently enough for the rest of the year to be able to pass them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep talking the rest of Europe. By the way, Atletico Madrid lost to Levante 2-0. That's huge. Barcelona held by Cadiz. Huge. Real Madrid did win against Valladolid 1-0. So La Liga now gets really interesting because Atletico's lead at the top shortens a little bit. They're top of the table. They do have that game in hand, 55 points, but now Real Madrid take advantage of that Barcelona draw, and they remain second. They have an extra game over Barcelona and Atleti, but they're 3 points behind Atletico Madrid. Barcelona with 47 points. It's quite an interesting situation. Sevilla doesn't play until Monday, so they have some games as well to catch up to. But with those two not winning and Real Madrid winning, it can get a little bit more interesting. And by the way, again, the same thing that we talked about AC Milan in terms of European competition, the same thing happens now with the Champions League for all 3 of them. And see how the further they go into the Champions League, it's just another headache for them as well. It's always a problem when you're a team that's in multiple competitions. And in the Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1 against Bayern Munich. Quick one on that one, Heath Pierce.
Yeah, Eintracht were great. They're such an organized team, and they've been great all year long. And the difference is again, they went ahead on Bayern, and we saw all year long that Bayern sort of needed this wake up call of going behind earlier, especially earlier in the year, of like, go down 1-0, we need to wake up and get into this game. And they weren't able to do it. They were grinding and grinding in this one. The pitch was beat up and they were willing to make it ugly. And but Eintracht Frankfurt have so much quality.
They're great.
And they didn't even have their very best team, but they have the ability to hold the ball. They attack well, and they matched up well. Unfortunately, this is again one of those ones where I think I want to say they're in the top 3. Is it right now? They're
when you look at the standings, Bayern Munich leads with 49 points, Leipzig with 47, Wolfsburg with 42, and Frankfurt right there, same points, just 1 goal less differential. So it's getting really interesting for that top 4 spot. Borussia Dortmund, by the way, I'm wearing their Christmas sweater that was sent to me a little late, but that's not their fault. But it's good. Erling Haaland, just please watch this in the Revier Derby. My God, I just have no words for that man. He's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It really is crazy. And it's again one of these things where you see Bayern, they've given up points in 7 games so far this season, and you look at it and you go, man, why can't we have the Dortmund that we get when they are on, right? When they are on, when they were winning, you want them to do that every week. And they are literally, I truly believe this, a top 3 attack in Europe every few weeks, like a top 3. And I'm not talking about top 5 or attractive or fun to watch. Like literally when Jadon Sancho is on, when Royce is on, when obviously Haaland gives them all of their attack, but like it's the most entertaining to watch when they are on, and it's just sad to see how far they are down the table, especially in a year like this where you're like, it's going to come down to Bayern and RB Leipzig. And if you watch RB Leipzig, they're good and they're fun to watch, but I still, even with a 2-point difference in the table, I still don't like their chances, right?
They're not at the finished product. They're not the finished product. Yeah.
You give me 2 points in a gap between Dortmund and Bayern this time of year, and with the quality that Dortmund have, I'm like, yeah, this might be Dortmund's year. But against RB Leipzig, not to disrespect them because they've been fantastic. They're just, punch for punch. I just see Bayern being able to like scrape out more points for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Absolutely right. And by the way, just a quick note, PSG, a great win against Barcelona. Everybody happy without Neymar. Kylian Mbappé just shining. Well, they lost 2-0 to Monaco. Our JJ, Jonathan Johnson, tweeting that it was just basically farcical. Just a terrible performance. I didn't see the game, so I don't want to talk about it that much, but PSG losing to Monaco. And now in Ligue 1, you have Lille top 58 points, Lyon 55, PSG remaining in 3rd, but with that win, Monaco are now 52 points. So things are very tight, but it's just ridiculous. You go and win against Barcelona quite emphatically.
Yeah, crush.
And then you lose to, not to take anything away from Monaco, perhaps they were fantastic, but according to Jonathan Johnson, it was just not a very good performance from PSG. And that's just one of the issues for them. It's just consistency. They just got to keep rolling, whether it's Liga or Champions League, not excusable for them, which is, something to think about for PSG and Mauricio Pochettino as they continue in the Champions League. Because even though you want to win the Champions League, you want to make sure that you're in the next one,
They should have, and no disrespect to Lille because they were really entertaining, and may go out now in the Europa League after the first leg. Should have had better there with Timo Weah scoring. But PSG, if you watch them and their attack against, a global giant, you do not expect them to lose at the weekend in the league against anybody. Monaco are in a really good form this year, and I think will finish in a European spot. But that's the games that you should really get up for. You got up for it against Barcelona. Like what is missing to be able to take all 3 points, and that would have put them still in 2nd place behind Lille, but just in a really good position to you have a new coach in, and you obviously show what you can do. To fall short kind of disappointing. It's funny because we want all these other teams to win the leagues, and then when the big teams follow, you go, man, we're disappointed that they're not in top.
I know. We're never happy, Heath. We're just never happy.
Yeah.
Speaking of big teams, the United States women's national team, after winning against Canada last week in the opening of She Believes Cup, not convincingly, but they got that win. They win 2-0 against Brazil. Goals from Kristen Press and Megan Rapinoe, who did her baby celebration for Ashley Harris and Ali Krieger. That was cool. But that means that 2 games, 2 wins. The US WNT overtakes Brazil in first place. And it's a huge one because, it means closer and closer to defending their She Believes Cup title. And Kristen Press was great. Rose Lavelle was great. Crystal Dunn, as always, good for Megan Rapinoe to get a goal there. And, this is just basically Heath, like Vlatko Andonovski said, and we had Becky Sauerbrunn a few weeks ago. This is just, this tournament, obviously it's important, but more importantly, it's like tougher competition and just, a closer look at how you can get ready for the Olympics.
Yeah, it's what I like about it is that even though it is round robin, it still is a tight window of games that matter, right? And that's really hard to find before you go into games of consequence. And when you play friendlies and you're out of competitions, or you play regional ones that are just for the U.S. women anyway, a pretty big walkthrough, I would, for the most part, you want to get up for these types of games and really test your team and know how you're going to rotate your squad over a few days and those types of things that go into tournament play, right? Being good at tournaments, as we know, is very different than being good in a friendly or managing a tournament. So to go through that repetition of a match, recovery, training, preparing for all of that, playing a different type of opponent that could play a different style of play and know that it matters is a good test run for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it, everybody. That's our weekend recap with Heath Pearce. I hope his leg's okay. Heath, your leg's going to be all right?
Honestly, I can still feel it. I don't want to pull my leg back under the chair. But that was, I've caught a couple of these on this show, and I feel like maybe you're edging towards a compilation now. If I do this one more time, you're gonna, you know what I mean? You're gonna be able to put that out into a mixtape for all of the fans.
This is the only one that we kept at the show, so I'll have to dig back and see what happened there. But we're getting old, Heath. We're getting old, man. We're just getting old. But you know what? Doesn't matter because the energy, the love is all still here. Any final thoughts, Heath, before we say goodbye? Because that's our weekend recap.
The last thing for me would be, Atletico letting Barcelona and Real Madrid back into the title race. And I believe the Madrid derby is coming in a couple weeks, and it's going to be a long and tough run for Atletico to see this out. But that would be the thing that I'm pinning on the calendar as a decisive moment. I want to say it's in 2 or 3 weeks after their Champions League game, but
well, when I give me 1 second, I will let you know the Madrid derby is March 7th. Lock it, Sunday, March 7th. It's going to be a big game, but also, El Clásico as well. I believe we have one more. That's meant to be in April. So this is now because of that loss, as you mentioned. La Liga has gone a little bit more interesting. Even Atleti does have that game in hand, but losing games like this at home, they're crucial.
Yeah, and they also play Villarreal coming up. They also play Athletic Bilbao, who aren't great, but always a difficult opponent. No walkover. They're sitting somewhere in the middle of the table right now, and I think they may have drawn today or not sure how that finished. But yeah, it is one where, when you look, they've given up points again in 3 or 4 of their last 5 games for Atletico. And we've slept on them because it's like a draw. Oh, it's okay. We're not going to close those gaps. But when you look at a 10-point gap starts to narrow when you give up 2 points. And now they lose. You're like, oh man, this title race might be on. But that's my closing thoughts.
Absolutely right. And by the way, Athletic Bilbao tied with Villarreal 1-1 today. Well, Heath Pearce, always good having you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank Heath Pierce for joining me today. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Que Golazo Pod. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/Que Golazo. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, CBSSports.com. Make sure that you subscribe, you give us a nice comment, and you keep supporting the pod and the show. Have a great beginning to your week.